You're not unmotivated, you're overwhelmed. And why this one thought is secretly sabotaging your metabolism. So, welcome to Weight Loss for Women Over 40, where we ditch the diet drama, shift your mindset, and reclaim your body and your life. I'm your host, Nikki T, and today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the biggest lies your brain likes to tell you. And it's that you're just not motivated, right? So let's dive into this. So, if you've been saying, I just can't get it together today or lately, I was doing so well and then I fell off the wagon, which, by the way, there is no wagon to fall off of. That's for a whole nother podcast. Maybe you're saying, why can't I stay consistent like everybody else? Then this episode is 100% for you. So make sure before you dive into that, hit that subscribe button because the podcast days have changed a little bit. So if you're listening to this podcast anywhere but Spotify, it comes out on Wednesday. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, it comes out on Friday. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when the next episode's coming out. All right, so let's start with a truth bomb. You're not unmotivated, you're not lazy, and you're certainly not broken. So, what is actually happening? You're thinking the thought, I'm overwhelmed. I hear this a lot from clients. They're like, I just feel so overwhelmed and I can't handle everything. And here's the problem, your brain actually believes that. So the thoughts that you say, I'm sorry, the thoughts that you think and the words that you say is very indicative of what's going on inside your mind. So instead of taking action, your brain tells you to freeze. So let's unpack that. First off, overwhelm, I like to quantify that as a thought, not as a feeling. So I want you to understand overwhelm, we use that word a lot, and it's not a real emotion. It's really a mental construct. It feels like it's an emotion because it shows up in our body with racing thoughts, tight chest, decision fatigue. But at its core, it's really a thought. You're having a thought that you're feeling overwhelmed, right? So the thought actually is, I feel overwhelmed. There's too much to do, not enough time to do it in. You don't know where to start. This is all too much. And when your brain says that over and over again, it creates the feeling of this shutdown. You go into freeze mode. And then your inner critic likes to pop in and says, see, you can't stick with anything. You always do this. Why even try? It's really a vicious loop, but it's not a motivational issue. It's a thought loop that we can interrupt. So let me give you a 4-step pattern that I see with my clients, and hopefully you can implement this and use it to your advantage. Number one, we tend to set unrealistic expectations. Now, do not get me wrong. I love living in the Lulu land. I love having huge ass goals and going for it, that kind of thing. But depending on where you're starting, people tend to start the week thinking, I'll work out 5 times a day, or not 5 times a day, 5 times a week. I will eat clean. I will journal. I will meditate. I will do all these things. And again, if you've been listening to my podcast, the things aren't the issue. It's the mindset that you've built up before that, before you do the things. And if you're starting from a place that this is so far out of your realm, it takes a lot of mental work to kind of rev up the engines to get you started. So once you set these expectations for yourself, then the inevitable stuff kind of starts happening, life, right? Work starts to get hectic. If you listen to, I don't know if it was the last podcast or the podcast before, I talked about how, or maybe it was a reel, I'm not actually sure, but when you decide something and you start to go through it or go for it, all of a sudden the poop starts hitting the fan. Like things start happening. And you can take it as you're not meant to do this, or you can take it as opportunities to become the new version of you, right? You're given opportunities, you're given challenges essentially to, or really opportunities to become that new person with these things that are going to keep popping up in your life, right? So work may get hectic. Kids are off schedule. Perfect time. This podcast is coming out in the summer. Your kid's schedule could be just so, I always thought your kid's schedule could be just off the charts right now. Because I know for me, when my kids were little, I liked the schedule of the normal school routine, through fall, through spring. When summer hit, it was like you were going here, you were going there, and they were home, and it was just so out of my realm. So if you're in the summer and your kid's schedule is kind of wonky, that's life stuff, right? Your energy may dip. You may want to do things like go on vacation, like things like that. Things are going to pop up. So that's when the thoughts start coming in. And this is the third one. The thoughts start coming in of, I can't keep this up. This is too much. I can't do this. I'm overwhelmed. And the result is you shut down, right? And you may not shut down in a physical sense of you're probably still going to start trying to do the things that you find are a priority. But what's going to shut down is instead of eating quote unquote clean, you're going to go grab for the cookies. You're going to emotionally eat. You're going to hit that snooze alarm and not go to the gym. Stuff like that, right? And you're going to blame yourself because you think it's lack of motivation. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. But here's what's really interesting. When we believe we are overwhelmed, our brain will actively look for proof. It filters out anything that would contradict that. So again, your brain likes to, it's like Google, you put it in the search bar, and if it's I feel overwhelmed, your brain will start bringing you evidence. It's like a dog. It goes, fetches the evidence and brings it back to you and says, yes, you are 100% right, right? Because your brain wants to make you right all the time, even if it doesn't serve you. So your dog brain is going out, grabbing proof and bringing it back and saying, hey, look, I found some more proof that you're in overwhelm. That also allows you to stop seeing the simple, doable actions that would move you forward. Again, you have to set your mindset up first and then take the actions. But again, your brain is in such overwhelm that it feels like, oh my gosh, I have all these things to do. If you chunked it down, it'd be a little bit easier for your brain to get on board. So again, motivation isn't the problem, clarity is. You don't need more motivation. You need less noise. You need clarity. Think about the last time you felt super motivated. Wasn't it when you had a very clear, doable next step? This is why I love my program, Master Your Mind to Change Your Body. It's very clear as to what you need to do, but it also teaches you how to set up the mindset so you can succeed. So when you're clear, that creates action, not hype, not willpower. It's very clear as to what to do. So again, here's the truth bomb that your brain loves simple bite-sized wins. It doesn't like messy, undefined to-do lists. So if your brain thinks, I have to lose 30 pounds, I have to fix my metabolism, I have to adjust my hormones, I have to stop snacking, I need to sleep better, I need to move more, I need to track everything that I'm doing, my sleep, my food, all the stuff, the brain just shuts down. It's like, danger, danger, Will Robinson. We're not going here. Again, it's not that you're unmotivated. It's your brain is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's protecting you from perceived failure. It's protecting you from perceived death, right? Because that primitive brain really only thinks in black and white in that sense of like you're alive or you're dead. And if it's leaning more towards death, think of all the things you have to do. It's not going to want to do it. So let's talk some tools. Here's how to reframe and do this in real life action. Okay, so first off, you need to catch the thought that you're thinking. When that thought comes in, you need to grab a hold of it and ask, am I actually overwhelmed? Or am I just thinking that? Get curious. What's the exact sentence that your brain is offering you? What are you looping on? Second one is simplify this ruthlessly. So ask, if I could only do one thing today that would move me forward, what would it be? That's it. One win, not 10. Next, I want you to talk back to your overwhelming thoughts. You can try these replacements. I can't do it all, but I can do one thing. There's plenty of time for what matters. That's another thought that pops up immediately after overwhelm. I don't have enough time. Again, overwhelm is not an emotion, it is a thought. It's also not a fact. Because if you were in a room with 100 other people in very similar situations, like let's put 100 people in a room, exact same scenario for 100 people, you would have 100 different versions of how they'd feel about this, how they would think about this. Some would be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Some would be like, no, this is not a problem. Some would be in the middle. It's really too about perspective. So, like if I asked you to run a mile and you can barely walk around the block, you might be overwhelmed by that thought. But if I asked you to run a mile and you're used to running 10 miles a day, 1 mile is absolutely nothing. You also get to decide where you want to spend your time. This is one of the big things that I work on with my clients is understanding that when you're in overwhelm, you take 100% responsibility. You created that schedule for yourself. And I know because I used to be there, but then I hear this from clients. It's like, well, yeah, but my kid has to go to camp, and my kid needs to do this, like, and my husband needs to do this, and the grocery needs to get done, and the laundry needs to get done. Like all these standards and things that are expectations of what we think our life is supposed to be made up of. Like, what can you let go? Maybe you delegate. Husband's in charge of dinner tonight, or something like that. Again, everybody's situation is very different, but just know that when you're piling that stuff on your plate, the to-dos, the overwhelm, you are creating that scenario. I love the sentence, no is a complete sentence. Again, that's probably a whole nother podcast. Lastly, I want you to decide with compassion. When you do take action, even if it's a small one, I want you to celebrate the hell out of it. Like celebrate the fact that you did that. Because here's what's going to happen is when you chunk it down and you give your brain one little task, then your brain's like, yay, we did it. And then it wants another one. Again, think like the dog. The dog wants a reward, right? So celebrate those little wins. Celebrate when you take one action and it feels amazing. Because again, those little wins will add up. Motivation doesn't magically appear, it is built on a mindset. One tiny action, one self-trust at a time, and one thought at a time. So here's what I want you to walk away with from this episode. You are not unmotivated. You are a woman who is probably in a full life. You have a powerful mind and a body that deserves care, not punishment. And yes, that means taking some things off your to-do list. And also, yes, sometimes our brain likes to lie to us. It tells you it's too much, that you can't do it, that you're failing again. But I know you know better. You're not behind. You're definitely not broken. And you're never starting from scratch. You're never starting over. You're just continuing where you left off with more experience. So overwhelm is a thought, not a feeling, not an emotion, and it's definitely not a truth unless you decide to make it a truth. Motivation thrives in clarity, not chaos. Simplify, reframe, and choose that one next step. And lastly, your small wins matter because it's part of the big picture. So if this episode made you exhale a little deeper, that is not an accident. That is your nervous system calming down because it's finally been heard. If you loved this episode, please share it with another woman who keeps blaming herself for not being motivated, feeling overwhelmed, because you never know who needs to hear this story today. And as you know, and if you don't know, I am on a mission to let as many women as possible know that they do not have to hate themselves skinny anymore. Ironically enough, this morning I found a new way to figure out where I ranked in the podcast. And I'm excited to say this podcast, Weight Loss for Women Over 40, is ranking 25 in the US. Number 25 in the US. I'm very proud of that achievement. And it's not necessarily me, like, because you guys listening to this, that helps drive that number up. Yes, I'm coming on with value and helpful suggestions on how to get your mindset in order. And I love that you are listening to this, and I hope that you are sharing it with others. But I just want to say thank you. I'm so grateful because that number to me doesn't represent a ranking. It represents the message that is getting sent all over the world. The fact that it's number 25 in the US, if you don't know podcasting, rankings, that's pretty freaking amazing. So again, I want to thank you. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're listening and sharing with others. So if you want more support of getting out of your own head and back into your body, you can find me at Weight Loss for Women Over 40.net. And while you're over there, go grab your free snackadence reset video. This is for when you feel out of control after emotionally eating. In less than 90 seconds, I'm going to help you reset your mindset and stop the spiral. Stop that guilt and shame after you ate an entire bag of chocolate chip cookies. And believe me, there's no judgment there because I've been there. Maybe not chocolate chip cookies, definitely donuts, definitely Cameo cookies back in the day. So if you want to grab that and keep it in your pocket, go grab that free Snackadence reset video. Again, the website, the link for that is Weight Loss for Women Over 40, 40 at the end, .net/snack, SNACK. All right, let's lose the weight and everything that's weighing you down. I hope you have a beautiful day and keep showing up for yourself. All right, I will talk to you soon. Take care.